Really appreciate all your efforts to make this work today. Thank you so much. And let's thank Betty Ham one more time for playing for us. Really appreciate her filling in. Now we'll start with some comments from our chair of the board of directors, Jenny Fanning.
Good afternoon. It is certainly a pleasure to be with you today on behalf of the board of directors to express our sincere appreciation to each one of you. We recognize what a key role each of you have in the health of the hospital. And I don't know if you ever thought of it that way, but we need a healthy hospital. And we have that due in part to the generous contributions that you have all given. As we get older, we recognize that good health becomes more and more important to us. And certainly changes do take place, some good and some not so good. Perhaps a few more wrinkles or an extension in the belt notch, but it's all part of life and we accept it. And we have certainly seen changes in our hospital over the years too. I have memories of when I was very involved with the auxiliary back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and every time I go to the hospital, I swear there were more and more construction trailers there. They'd move this department to that department. I was glad I was on many medical days, and the blueprint was different every time. But thank goodness that they were making all those improvements, and that they have continued to be modern and up to date. That is why we are the hospital we are today, a Lincoln Bronze Award winner. I was at my state conference. State conference this past week, and at one of the presentations there was a slide of one of those large yellow warning traffic signs, and all it said on the big sign was changes ahead. And I thought, whoa, that sign could be placed at the entrance to our community, at many of our businesses, even at our homes, and certainly at our hospital. So yes, changes are going to continue at Passavant Hospital. And one major change will be the addition of the new medical office building. The board recognizes the investment that both Memorial Health System and Springfield Clinic have made in our community, as they have been bringing physicians for many years over to serve our people. And having them on our campus will change the way our community receives their health care, and it will also make our hospital much more accessible to patient needs. We see this as our new friends, Memorial and Springfield Clinic, partnering with us in our effort to give the best care we can to this area. Change continues to be ahead, but with our doctors, staff, and board all having the combined goal of being a premier independent hospital, the future is bright. However, amidst this change, we have a constant. We have a rock that keeps us strong, and that is each one of you. Thank you for providing the assurance that you believe in Passavant Area Hospital and the mission that we work hard to achieve of providing excellent care with compassion and commitment. New and old friends, changing and working together to make sure that we continue to be friends caring for friends. Thank you ever so much for your support.
Thank you, Jenny. And now we hear from our President and CEO, Chester Wynn.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your continued support of Passavant Hospital. And I also appreciate Hamilton's being available for lunch today, especially providing fried chicken, which we always seem to have when I show up here. I would like to give you a brief update since last year's luncheon. We've added 2 new physicians to our medical staff, Dr. Andrew Hernevich who's an OBGYN with Passavant Physicians Association, and Dr. Yan Chin, Laboratory Director with Pathology Associates of Central Illinois. Last December, Dr. James Hinchin retired after 30 years in medicine. He was instrumental in the creation of the Morgan Scott Volunteer Health Clinic. Also in January 2012, Dr. Robert Stallworth, a radiologist who's in charge of our radiology department, is planning to retire and relocate to Nevada. I appreciate Dr. Meyer allowing me to share the podium with him when he gave 2 programs on the history of Passavant Hospital. I gave a brief, very brief, update on Passavant today because everybody wanted to hear what Dr. Meyer had to say about Passavant in the past. But I also learned several things that I didn't know about Passavant's history. And I think if you talk to him nicely, Dr. Meyer might be talked into doing an evening program if in fact you missed that one. Some of the issues that affected the hospital this year also affected most of you. The blizzard of 2011, as it will come to be known, closed a lot of businesses. But when I saw a "sorry, we're closed due to weather" sign on a window, I again realized how important Passavant Hospital is to the community, because we never closed. Even when our communities face a dire situation, Passavant provides care without interruption. Many hospital staff never left the grounds. Employees in 4-wheel drive vehicles picked up other employees who couldn't make it out of their own driveways. Others worked day and night to keep the parking lots clear and helped employees and visitors dig their cars out of the snow, all the while maintaining hospital services such as surgeries, emergency department, and patient care, including delivering babies. I was very proud of our staff. Then, of course, in June, Jacksonville faced a different crisis: no water. Well, actually, lots of water, but none of it consumable. Again, Passavant was able to continue services. Staff, volunteers, and physicians went above and beyond to keep patient care as a top priority. We purchased thousands of gallons of clean water and tons of ice, used plastic in the cafeteria and for patients, and in the cafeteria and for patients, and hand sanitizer was available throughout the hospital. It was amazing to see everybody work together as a team to benefit our patients. On the bright side, financially this year, we've done better than last year when we had a $1 million loss. In 2011, we budgeted for a $1.3 million operating margin, but we are at $2.1 million at the end of September, which is the end of our fiscal year. Unfortunately, in 2012, we're just trying to break even again due to some of the increased regulation with the federal government, state government. An interesting change from the hospital, from the federal government, that all hospitals are facing in the future will be our reimbursement will be partially based on patient satisfaction scores. The government will take 1% from every hospital and return that amount to the hospitals based on their patient satisfaction scores. We've always strived to give excellent care, but that's not always how the patients perceive us. Currently, if you were admitted to Passavant Hospital, Dave Bolin, our CFO, or Karen Dom, our CNO, or I will visit you in your room and ask if you have concerns. Please contact us. We can address any issues while you're in the hospital to make your stay better. Then, when patient satisfaction surveys arrive at your home, hopefully you will want to rate us very good, which is the highest score. You may have heard that some non-for-profit hospitals are losing their tax-exempt status due to less than favorable charity care assistance. I can assure you that Passavant Hospital is doing its share. Charity care for 2011 was $10.7 million, and bad debts were $2.3 million. Passavant's charitable support of the Morgan Scott Volunteer Health Clinic was an additional $1.3 million. Totaling these together comes to an amount of $14.3 million. With the current economic situation, we probably will see those numbers continue to increase. You may have noticed that the R.D. Lawrence construction sign, sorry John, is no longer in front of the emergency room in front of the hospital. We recently completed the final phase of the emergency department expansion, which was the outpatient department renovation, and we moved into it. The activity on the west side of Passavant across from the emergency room is where a new parking lot for Passavant employees is being completed. As Jenny mentioned, we are moving forward with a 63,000 square foot medical office building on the east side of the hospital, where most of our employees currently park. Passavant has run out of space for new physicians, and we cannot afford to build a medical office building ourselves. Memorial Health Systems is constructing the building to house Memorial and Springfield Clinic physicians who are currently scattered throughout Jacksonville. This building places their physicians in one location on our campus. Construction will begin early in 2012 and should be completed late 2013. Before I close this afternoon, I'd like to recognize a couple of gentlemen who I feel need special recognition after years of donating to the Passavant Hospital Auxiliary Bazaar. First, I'd like to thank Perk Chumley, have him stand. Chumley, that's right here. Mr. Chumley has provided Mr. Chumley has provided 25 dollhouses over the years to the Holiday Bazaar. And I understand when his wife Fran was alive, she decorated them for him. Several years ago, I was lucky enough to win one of those, and my daughter used to play with it for many years. It's currently in my attic and needs some of the pieces glued back on. Maybe I can stop by and get a refurbishing. I hear this one is the last one, so I want to thank you for the hard work that you've done to benefit the hospital and the auxiliary. Thank you. Next, I'd like to ask Bob Neff to stand. Bob's in the back. Bob has provided handcrafted wood items over the years that raise a lot of money for the bazaar. I recall tables, chairs, cabinets, toy chests, a roll-top desk, to name a few, that were sold right after cutting the ribbon to open the bazaar, because that's the earliest time you could get these, and they were gone very quickly. I want to personally thank you on behalf of the hospital for all the work you've done for the bazaar, and Diana has given him a plaque. There have been others at the years. Let's give him a plaque. There have been many others over the years that we appreciate, but these two certainly stand out. The Auxiliary Bazaar proceeds and the other funds raisers at the auxiliary and the other fundraisers the auxiliary does throughout the year all come back to the hospital. The Holiday Bazaar is next Friday and Saturday, November the 11th and the 12th. It starts at 3 o'clock on Friday. So we hope you can all attend. You can see last year's bazaar's proceeds put to use in our lobby and gift shop with new flooring, carpet, and paint. The proceeds from the 2011 and 2012 bazaar will be used to purchase a mini C-arm for surgery. The $80,000 cost will be divided over the next two bazaars. I appreciate all of you who are members of the auxiliary, who participate as board members and as fundraisers for the auxiliary and Passavant. Last year, Maurice and Ruby Funk gave Passavant Hospital $1 million. We didn't receive $1 million gift this year, but we have a gentleman named Million, down here in front, who plans to donate a 320-acre farm in Scott County to the hospital. Howard Million and his wife Vera designated it in their will several years ago so the hospital would receive their farm. Although Mrs. Million died in 2008, we're happy to recognize Howard today. We usually don't get to recognize these bequests when the person is still living. Howard, would you please stand? I'd again like to thank you all for coming today and hope you will continue support of your community hospital. Now I'd like to turn it over to Fred Osborne to give a brief update on Passavant's Development Council. Fred?
Thank you, Chip. Before I get into my comments about the Development Council, I would just like to tag on to what Chet said about teamwork at the hospital. I've had some association with the hospital for several years, being on the board and some committees, and I've always been very pleased with the to-do attitude that people have there. Give them a task and they get it done. Teamwork. It's been my honor to serve as chair of the Development Council for 2 years, and I hope I can continue for several years on that. The Development Council has several tasks. One is to keep putting out into the public the very positive image of Passavant Hospital. Number 2 is to disseminate information in our service area about what's happening at Passavant and the new things that are happening. And the third, and probably, in my opinion, most important, is to raise money. Now, I know we're talking to the choir here because you folks donate. Our task is to try to increase contributions and get sustaining members who are giving annually. There are 5 committees that we work with. And if you're currently serving or have served on one of the Development Council committees, would you please stand? Now, those folks are working very hard for Passavant Hospital, and they're very creative, and they keep coming up with ideas that we can take out into the community to try to raise funds. And we're working on those ideas as they present them to us. We look forward to having more people on our committees. If you would like to volunteer to serve on a committee, contact Diana and she can place you on the proper committee. We always need new blood, and we always need more money. Thank you.
See why I chose Fred to be chair of the Development Council. He's out there all the time, and I'm so grateful. It is hard to believe that it's been 2 years since the kickoff meeting for the formation of the Development Council, and I do want to thank Fred for his work with the council and all of you who are here that have been part of this continuing program. And I do hope you can continue, Fred. A couple of upcoming events I'd like to mention is that Chaplain Kelly will be conducting the annual Christmas tree memorial service in the hospital lobby. That'll be on December 8th at 6:30. There are some flyers on your table. The proceeds from the Christmas ornaments assist patients in the hospital as part of the Chaplain's Assistance Fund. We're fortunate to have a number of individuals donate to the fund, and the Alzheimer's Support Group in Morgan County is one, and I know Mickey Watkins is here, and I appreciate her funding that. Also want to mention the tribute garden brochures that are on the table. We have 343 engraved bricks in the garden. If you've never walked out there, don't go out right now. It's not a pretty sight. But if you go in the spring, any time of winter, it's beautiful out there. The trees turned in the fall this year. They were gorgeous. We did have to replace 2 trees because that blight got them. I was really sorry about that. But it's beautiful in the spring, in the summer, in the fall. The winter is just not the best time. But Chaplain Kelly also leads a memorial service in the garden each September, and we did have beautiful weather this year for the service. And John and Stephanie Smith-Wilkie played for us, and that was also sponsored by Reverend Hedrick's Music Fund. We appreciate the donations from ExxonMobil Foundation and J.C. Penney in honor of 4 of our volunteers. ExxonMobil for Carlene Birdsell, Dennis and Judy Flynn, and J.C. Penney for Velma Schisler. They're all here today, so I wish they would stand, please, and be recognized. We need to thank them. First time I've had all 4 of them here at one time, and that's great because that's really a nice service that those Exxon and J.C. Penney do. Altogether, they have brought in over $13,000 to the Lifeline program for their volunteer hours. Now, these are volunteer hours that these companies are paying for or donating for. Other businesses and organizations that support the duck race for Lifeline include Cass Communications, the Central Illinois Community Blood Center, First Baptist Church, Fox Fund of the Grace United Methodist Church, the Jacksonville Lions Club, Jacksonville Noon Rotary, Passavant Hospital Alumni Association, and the Pilot Club. And I think there are some groups, some folks here representing those groups. If you would stand, I know Tony's here from the Rotary, Sue Morrow from the alumni. Stand up, don't be shy. Anybody else? We appreciate having those representatives here. And we do thank our volunteers that help every year with the duck race. It's a really large undertaking. Other businesses and foundation that continue to support the hospital on an annual basis include Bound to Stay Bound Books, Pactive, R.D. Lawrence, John Getz is here at the table, Pathology Associates of Central Illinois, the Clarence Shue Lutheran Memorial Foundation, the Kiwanis Club of Jacksonville. I know there's lots of Kiwanians here, as well as Rotarians. Can't leave that out. Illinois Road Contractors, Crumb Construction, Peak Insurance Agency, Laborers Local Union number 477, and World Travel of Jacksonville. The annual Passavant Powerade 5K run that's held in May raised $1,000 for the Teen Speed Program and Rehab Services, and Kevin Eckhoff has organized this run for 19 years. It has grown to almost 500 entries the last couple of years, so it's really become a big event in Jacksonville. I also want to thank the auxiliary for all they do for the hospital. They do several really nice fundraisers during the year that maybe some of you don't realize, book sales and jewelry sales and lots of things besides the bazaar, which Mr. Wynn mentions coming up. And I know a lot of employees and community look forward to those fundraisers and the bazaar too. Ann Wildrick is here representing the auxiliary, and she's president. And Ann, where are you? I lost you. Oh, she's back in the back there. Thank you. The auxiliary also gives a number of nursing scholarships, which is very much appreciated. And I'd like to add that Joe Racy of Production Press has continued to support the Nurses Scholarship Fund that he set up in memory of his wife, Chris. I also want to thank our Passavant employees. We have a number of employees here today. Some who have been giving for a long time but never did come to the luncheon. So I'm really happy to have those folks here. And I want to thank them for giving back to their hospital too. I appreciate it. I was so pleased when Mr. Million and his family were here today. They allowed Mr. Wynn to announce his bequest. It's so nice to be able to thank someone for such a generous gift while he's still with us. And I do thank you, Howard, and thank you for coming today. That's wonderful. All of your gifts make possible the latest improvements and state-of-the-art equipment that Passavant provides for its patients. So I thank you for the many memorial gifts we received and the annual donations that a number of you have continued over the years. With suggestions from the Development Council committees, we've made it very easy to donate to Passavant Hospital. You can go to our website and give by credit card. You can even do recurring where you don't have to even think about it. You just tell it which months you want it to come out off your credit card. We also have charitable gift and annuity plans now that are available, and we'd be happy to run a proposal for that for you with no obligations. And we still, of course, take checks or cash. We even have an ATM machine right in the hospital. Don't have to have cash with you. And of course, don't forget us in your will, like Mr. Million did. Take that as an example. By the way, the Development Council has been such a pleasure. The folks on those committees are so dedicated that I realized after our planned giving meeting this past Friday morning that it was Louise Bahome's birthday, and she was at the meeting, and we didn't even mention that it was her birthday. Louise, I apologize for that. You came to that meeting on your birthday. Thank you so much. She's been one of our dedicated volunteers on that. So thank you again for joining us. We have a gift for you as you leave. I know a lot of you don't use paper calendars anymore, but I had a volunteer, who's also a donor here, say, why don't you give us something we can use? I want one of those book calendars, and you know who you are that said that. And so we have those, and then there's some of the gifts that we've given in the past. If your little sticky notes or post-it notes have run out, we've got some more of those and some notebooks. So again, thank you so much. It's so great to see all of you here, and I hope we'll see you again. Not in the hospital necessarily, but at other events throughout the year. So thank you for coming.